and the adventures that we experience in each city. All right, and let's
Alright.
start off with Barcelona. Right?
Yeah, they say Barcelona. It's something I picked up. I was like, when they told me, I'm like, listen, it's your city. I gotta listen. I'm just gonna be like, okay, that's cool. Barcelona. So whoever's going there, just learn ahead of time. It works well. Trust me.
Especially with the ladies.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe you had. I was just focused on traveling.
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah.
there's none of that stuff.
His mom might be watching, so
yeah.
be a bit careful.
Trying to filter on this video.
But yeah, let's go through Barcelona. What was the first thing that came into your mind when you landed in Barcelona? Let's start off with just landing there and just seeing the scenery and.
I think because of my job.
Yeah.
I just saw like when you see the city, it's like this pattern of the same height buildings everywhere, and I'm like, did the engineers here have like a height limit for the entire city? I don't know. Or was it like a city bylaw or something? I don't know. It was just interesting because as an engineer, I'm a consultant. I do mechanical and design for buildings, and every building's height is different depending on whatever the client or who the owner wants. But in Barcelona, you if you look at a bird's eye view of the city, you see a very huge pattern. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But that's because it comes from an engineer's brain, because that's what I'm like doing. So I think about that.
In terms of the streets and like the pattern, I found that when I walk down the streets, I wasn't really bored. I don't know why, but when I'm in Oshawa or I don't know, I guess other cities, sometimes I'm easily bored and I kind of don't want to walk. And Barcelona, I kept wanting to walk. I was like, wow, okay, this is fun.
To give you guys a background, so when we arrived from the airport, we took this like express bus to the center of the city, and then from there, it was another 15-minute bus ride to our hostel, and we decided to walk. With the luggage and the backpack, and dragging your.
Well, we were light. We were like very light traveling.
Hey, I don't know. Some people find that heavy. It's just
Really?
dragging. Oh yeah, man, you got a big heavy backpack because you got stuff in it.
Yeah, one backpack and then one carry-on.
And then carry on, and you walk for 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
35 minutes, and so we walked, and then it was like what 8, 9 in the morning. If you walk 8, 9 in the morning downtown Toronto, it's busy. It's like really busy. Everybody's running around. Over there, there's birds. And that's probably about it. You're like, the city is okay right now. It's what's happening, and it's dead because they start their work at like 11, 12, and then they stop later at night. But yeah, it was there. And to your point of going, it's you don't get bored is because these cities there's lots of people living there, right? I don't know the population of Barcelona, but I do know that compared to Toronto as a whole, there's a lot more people in these cities. So more people means you gotta have more stores and all that. So everywhere you go is like stores, and the small, big stores, little cute corner, convenience stores everywhere. Cafes.
Pastries.
With pastries, small little restaurants, and they love drinking beer and sitting in a patio. So that's like everywhere you go. So this gives you like a livelihood.
Yeah.
And it's a busy city, so you see a lot of people later in the day with a lot of cars. Late at night, you go like 11, everybody's out. Whereas Toronto, even downtown Toronto, 11, it's kind of like the homeless. And that's about it.
To be honest, I noticed a lot more like Vespas. That's one of my observations. I also noticed the nature, right? Like, palm trees. You got just like a very different vibe than you would expect from Europe. It was like a tropical Middle Eastern environment, and that really kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, I found that about Europe in general ish.
Yeah.
Even some cities in France and Italy. Italy is like that as well, like very very Middle Eastern type.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think is North America is very different.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. You know, I live here. I love it, but it's just different. But Europe in general and Asia, because they're a lot older, there's a lot more like. So basically, is what I experience is people in North America are more living an individualistic type of life, whereas in Europe it's more of like close-knit family all the time. Not that we're not like that here, but it's just how I have seen it.
Yeah.
They value family there a lot, I would say, and I've experienced from here it's a little bit. Sometimes it's not the same. Sometimes.
Definitely. And then I guess we'll talk about our hostel experience. We went to a hostel where it was kind of like almost like a grandparents' house, right? I think grandparents owned it, right?
Yeah. No, there was the very elderly who owned it, like the elderly couple, and they're very nice, but
very nice, yeah.
they look like they made good pastas.
Yeah,
they made that sauce themselves with the tomatoes.
Oh, they were the ones cooking?
Yeah. The guy was in the kitchen, was like, you know, he kind of. I've never done it. He's like, he took the tomatoes, he boiled them, and then he started skinning them after, and then he started like chopping them and hitting them, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then he made it, and then at the end I saw they had pasta. That was cool.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, just I guess young people like us, our age, it wasn't a full house. It was kind of a little bit empty. Was the hostel a little bit empty? What do you think?
It was so because it was we arrived about a day before Christmas, so 24th, right?
Yeah.
Was it 23rd or 24th? And yeah, I mean, you know, people tend to spend the time with their family in Christmas, so for them that is in Europe, so not that many people. The hostel wasn't a party hostel, so you know, there's some hostels that are party hostels. These guys don't do that. You know, you would see that people apparently to them sleeping by 1 a.m. is early. Where him and I were like dead by 11. 9 like,
9 p.m. we're done.
We're done. Day's over, and then we
just wake up in the morning and just.
We would wake up early and nothing is open. So I'm like, I'm hungry, but what am I gonna eat? There's no place to go eat.
Yeah, and I wanted to do keto.
Oh yeah.
But this guy stopped me.
Listen. He's like, I'm like, all right, let's find a place to eat, right? And this guy is like, okay, I can't eat anything here. So I'm like, I don't want to be going around the city all day finding a place that's keto certified. Europeans don't understand keto. What is this?
I think it's very difficult to do keto while traveling. But my praise is for those who actually stick to it. I think the best way to do keto would be to. You're kind of missing out, to be honest, because you want to try that country's cuisine, right? And with the
that didn't work out too well in Barcelona.
The first thing we did was like grab pastries and like I was instantly hooked.
Yeah. So this guy's like, I'm in keto. I don't eat carbs. I don't eat sugar. This guy's eating pastries like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm like, dude, like you're gonna die. You're gonna die from all this overload of sugar and carbs and whatever else they put in those pastries. They're delicious, but like
so good.
You went one time to one of these supermarkets, like just filling his big bag of.
So good.
And then one of the times he ate so much that the next day he didn't feel so good.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Like my head's cloudy. I'm like I'm high from pastries.
Yeah, I love the goat cheese ones. I really like the sweet ones too. They're all good.
Yeah.
They're all really good. Like you have these small cafes, we can get these pastries, and it's kind of like Tim Hortons, where you just go and kind of get a coffee and you can get.
Yeah, and it seems to be their culture. It's very cool that they go and they go to these like, you know, any pastry shop, and they don't have a chain, like Tim Hortons per se, but they have they had it in Madrid because it's more of a busy city. Yeah, 360. But in the other cities, everybody's like, you know, locally owned pastries and, you know, coffee shops where people just go and have their little Nescafe little cup thing, and then they have a pastry, and that's kind of their like afternoon hangout. It looked like it because every time we went at those times they were busy.
Yeah.
And they always have fresh pastries, or at least it looked like.
Let's talk about food. I
Sure.
was, to be honest, I was kind of disappointed by the food in Spain in general, but but I think Barcelona, the food scene just wasn't there. Other than that one time, we had some really good burgers.
Yeah, we had. Well, the thing is, let's give people some background, all right?
Yeah,
We come from, South Asia, the Middle East
Yeah.
background, right? We eat, our food has a certain level of spices, and so we're kind of raised with that. So when you go to a city where their food is more of a deep fried, anything really, like they put potatoes in deep fried, and that's tapas for you, and it's different for us. So I didn't like the food, unfortunately.
same.
Barcelona. But you don't take it as that, because if you're a foodie, I think if you're a foodie you would enjoy the food because it's different. Foodie, yeah, we're not foodies, dude.
Okay.
Like, we love our own food, and that's
Yeah.
about it. We're not really open-minded about food. Foodies
Yeah.
are actually the people that want to experience it and they would
Definitely.
enjoy. So how it works in their culture is like it's just how their marketing works in these restaurants is they'd give you tapas, which is the traditional food, and it's like a bunch of small dishes in one plate. So a portion of think of like having an 8-course meal, but a very small portion at each course, right? And they would, if you drank a beer, like if you bought a beer,
Then they would give it with.
they would give you tapas
Yeah.
for free. So what happens is people would order a beer, and drink a beer, and then eat tapas, and then they drink another beer, and then have free tapas, and then they get filled after like 2 beers and 2 or 3 small courses of tapas, and you're done, right? And then you're like, okay. So they don't really get to taste, because beer kind of takes over the taste of the food. So I mean, I haven't experienced it, but it sounds like they just eat less and eat small portions.
Just carb overload.
Yeah, and the carb overload, and we're like, okay, so I mean, I don't eat this. So I can't drink beer, so I gotta eat a full meal. But after walking like 15 kilometers,
You need food.
You need food, right?
So
And
yeah,
so
Hisham
the-
and I kind of survived on pastries and shawarmas.
yeah, we had a lot of shawarmas, and I think at some point it was too oily, so we're like, you know what? Today we're just gonna eat vegetarian.
I remember that. Well, what's interesting is they don't call it shawarma in Spain. They call it donaires, and they call them
It's a Turkish name.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a Turkish name. They call it donaires. Shawarma has been something that it's in North America. Like shawarma is there in all
Yeah.
countries, but in North America we only think of it as shawarma. But I believe it's a Turkish donair. They call it
Yeah.
donaires.
What do you think? Do you think the shawarma has lived up to North America's?
To be honest, no. I think it was different, but maybe I don't know why. North America's is better, but I've also heard from my friends who say that shawarma in North America is not the way they actually
In the
eat
Middle
it
East.
in the Middle East. Is,
Yeah.
we have all like 50 million different spices.
And
I mean, sorry,
vegetables.
50 million different vegetables in our sandwiches, and they're like, oh, you know what we have? We just have pickles and garlic sauce
And chicken.
and chicken. Khalas.
Pickles and garlic sauce in a shawarma.
Yeah, and they eat a lot of meat.
They eat a lot.
You
Yeah,
know.
it's like stuffed.
For us, it's like, all right, what do you want? And like a small piece of chicken, and then like lettuce,
Yeah.
and the entire sandwich. So you're like, am I eating a salad or shawarma?
Yeah, they cheap out on the meat here.
They
But
do.
let's talk about our trip to the monastery. So we went to Montserrat. Let's talk a bit about Montserrat. So Montserrat is a monastery that's on top of a mountain, right?
And people would like monks would. I mean, people would go there to basically learn and become monks, right?
Exactly.
Is that the history? That was
Yep.
the history behind it. And even we even saw a few people. We met a few monks, and it was very interesting because I've never met like in like close by, and like I saw them, and it was really cool how they were dressed and behaving,
Mhm.
very respectful.
Absolutely. And what amazes me is before they had this lift, like they had
Yeah.
this crane or whatever, you know, the things that you have in the ski almost like a ski lift, right?
Cable cars. Yeah, cable cars. Yeah.
So we had a cable car, but if back
Wait. I wanted to hike, but this guy wanted to take the cable car. Just for the record.
So he wanted to hike that. The hike is like kilometers long.
Yeah. Well.
So respect to those monks that used to climb that mountain.
No wonder they were so fit.
It's like these monks are just jacked.
Yeah, you know, big legs, you know, healthy.
And quads.
Yeah, it's all you know. Whereas us, it's chicken legs.
Exactly. And like what amazes me is how did they build that monastery on top of that mountain? Like just getting material up there was just insane.
So, and I think we asked this question from when we were in Madrid. We asked the question of like how do they build these next level architectural sites, and they're like, yeah, we just use thousands of people. And so, you know, now it's a lot of using mechanical stuff and, you know, having all these cranes and blah blah blah, but back then they would mechanically take everything like with physical labor. It was all physical labor, and what you had is you had a lot of people, but you didn't have any technology. And I guess I'm not very familiar with the Industrial Revolution or whatever, but it seems like that's when everything changed, when technology got so good that you can build cities or whatever. But in here, it seemed like every rock or every stone that they take up and they put in the building is taken up by a few people, mainly at that time.
It's crazy. Like imagine
there.
hauling big rocks.
Yeah.
Up mountains.
Up mountains, yeah, and that's why it would take them multiple years and thousands of people to do one building. And again, the structure of these buildings is so intense.
Very well.
They got walls as thick as this, you know, couch.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you know, and there's so much like detailed work and everything. So you can tell there's a lot of time spent, and that's why these cities, these countries take these places so like they value it so much. They take care of it and make sure, because of all the work that has been done.
Yeah, let's talk about so before we got to Montserrat, we were on a train to Montserrat, and we met this couple, and it was a very interesting story where so it starts off with this couple and this one young Russian lady, and maybe around our age, and she comes and chats with us because she knows English, and we kind of become friends.
Yeah, very fast. We did, and she's like, "Oh, you guys are so nice. Can we just come over and sit?" I'm like, "Please." Yeah.
And what was interesting is that they had a very different perception of South Asians or Afghans or Muslims in general, and they're very upfront about it. Like, so it's kind of hard to tell a story, but they basically told us that, hey, listen, like we live in St. Petersburg, right?
Or Moscow.
Or Moscow. I forget where.
I think they live now in Moscow. Maybe they lived before, but they were in Moscow.
Yeah. And they were just very surprised that like you guys are so nice, and the Afghans or the Pakistanis back home are just very mean and backwards people. And tell me a bit about that experience.
So, just a little bit of background for you guys. Afghanistan and Russia are like very close, and people from Afghanistan go to Russia just because of safety, and you know they want a better life, just like anybody moves to any new country, right? But when they go there, it's more of the people the close to the borders, where the small villages and so on. So when they go, they're on the extreme end of the culture and the religion. So they see Russians in a sense, what it came to be from her, that we felt that they hated the Russians and the Russians hated them. And so there's like this tension, and they don't like each other. And you know, they don't know the language, so if anything happens in between them, they blame it on, you know, they're Afghan, that's why, or they're Russian, that's why, type of thing. And so they feel like this tension towards them, so they're rude to them, and no matter what, both ways they're to each other. So the couple that we met, they had that experience, and like, you know, they're always so angry, and you know, they don't want to talk to us, or you know, and Russians as well don't want to be talking to them, and so on. So you get like everybody just hated each other, where if you just like take it easy and say, all right, you know, we can be neighbors and relax, but again, nothing works that perfectly. You know.
Yeah, but what I liked from that experience was they had a lot of questions.
They did.
Like about Islam, about our Prophet, peace be upon him, and I was able to communicate, you know, I hope effectively communicate kind of an answers to those questions they had, right? So they came very open-mindedly with these questions, and I think that travel experience, not only for them but also for us and them, I think it was very positive because it kind of broke down those barriers, and I think gave them a better vision of.
Yeah, they were curious, and when they saw something different that they didn't see before, like, oh, you guys actually are okay talking to us. They were like, oh, so now I can ask all these other questions, and they did, and it was great.
Yeah.
And you know, we liked it because it kind of put a challenge on us too to communicate something effectively, because she knew English, but her husband didn't as much. So when we were explaining, we had to break things down and explain a little bit more detail. But the idea was that, you know, it's not necessarily the people who are from Afghanistan who are rude, or people who are Muslim who are rude, or whatever. It's just that sometimes circumstances bring the worst of some people, and it isn't necessarily because of their country or their religion or their race. It is more just like circumstantial.
Definitely.
In that sense, but they were very nice people. We could just kind of like, we were going in Montserrat, we kind of spent the entire day, and we just spent it with them because why not, right? They were nice, and they were relaxed, you know.
Yeah.
We went and we saw the sights. We went a little bit higher, and we saw the scenery. We saw the sunset. It was really cool.
Definitely, yeah. I love that experience, and I highly recommend everyone. Even the air was just super fresh up there, just because it's a higher altitude. You know, I took some really good shots there.
Yeah, a bunch of nice pictures.
The mountains in the back.
Mountains in the back, Instagram worthy.
Absolutely.
You know, Tinder profile, Tinder profile, any of those, you know, we had it. And actually, his Facebook profile is the one I took. I took that picture.
Oh yeah, Hisham took that, and it's actually at Montserrat.
Yeah, it's Montserrat. Yeah, and he was very.
It's like a sunset type vibe.
And he was like just he was enjoying this posing, but you know, enjoying the scenery, and I just clicked the shot, and now he's put it everywhere.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, gotta show strut my face, right? I don't know if that sounds proper. Okay, let's go on to our next city. Hopefully this is recording, or else I'm gonna kill this camera.
It is because where's that red thing? Like,
dude, it doesn't show up. Oh no, it's recording.
Yeah, there's a red thing that shows up.
Yeah.